A win is a win, and you take it any day of the week. And that is what Alabama will definitely take when it is all said and done. Alabama with a 20-9 sloppy victory over the LSU Tigers. Look, tight ball game. And was it fun to watch? No, this was not your average game that you wanted to watch. Not the most clean game that you would have wanted to watch. But, hey, like we mentioned, a win is a win. And you know what? You will take anything that you get at the end of the day. And we both know that. We know that that's the truth. And that's essentially where Alabama is at right now. They are a playoff team. I don't know if anybody didn't really understand it just yet or really comprehended it, but Alabama is truly a playoff team. And in my opinion, they could be in for a very deep run. They very well could be. Now, do I still think that they have a lot of question marks to address? You damn right. You damn right. One of the main things is your rushing offense. We'll address that later on in the show. Nevertheless, folks, we are live. This is South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Make sure you all do us a favor and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the bell notification so that you are notified every time we go live here on SEC Live at the Voice of College Football. Every post-game show brought to you by our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Going over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use my promo code VOCFBSEC. And when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 instant in free bets. That's code VOCFBSEC. And when you play that first $5 lineup, you will get $50 instantly in free bets. Must be 21 or older. Not available in all states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That is 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. By the way, that wasn't the logo. Let me go ahead and prop up the proper one. That is my bad, guys. Y'all probably already know it anyway, but yeah. Boom. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There's that $5 lineup. All right. Let's get in and talk about the game. Alabama, the last two games of the season, really ever since you started SEC play against Georgia, this is where what your rushing stats have looked like. Tonight, you had 56 yards rushing. 56 yards rushing. Guys, that's unacceptable. This is not the Alabama of old that you are used to seeing. This is not the Alabama where you're consistently owning the line of scrimmage. And may I remind you guys that you had a Joe Moore Award-winning preseason ranked offensive line that was truly dominant. But this is not the same offensive line. But you know what you did? You got extensions of the run game in regards to screens, quick plays, getting the football out of Ty Simpson's hands, and getting some trickeration as well. You knew that they were going to do that this week, and you knew Jeremy Bernard was going to get involved again. He did. He did. The game was won in the second quarter for Alabama. And that is essentially where you are right now for Bama, is that you're going to have to do a lot of new things in this offense so that you can continue to dominate down the stretch of the game. You're going to have to. You don't have a choice. So, yeah, man, that's essentially where you're at. And do I think that you had the perfect game plan? No. But a win is a win. like we've already mentioned. But anyways, back to the rushing stats. You've had 56 this week. You had 72 last week, 2 weeks ago against South Carolina. 120 against Tennessee. You had $125 against Missouri. You had $146 against Vanderbilt, which, by the way, Jam Miller had 136 of those 146. You had 117 against Georgia. So in 6 games, you've averaged just 106 yards rushing. 106 yards rushing. Back-to-back weeks, you played defenses that were really good in rush defense. Have they given up big plays? Yes. But they came out and they punched you in the mouth. But you know what? You averaged 2.2. Alabama averaged 2.2 yards a carry. .2 yards a carry is not going to win you football games. It won't. And it never will. And this is what I got from an LSU fan, by the way, who is very, very good with LSU. The amount of reviews that happened on that first Michael Van Buren drive were insane. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Never seen anything like it, but yes, offensive staff need to be cleaned out and got to go full forward with Michael Van Buren. Nussmeier needs to be done. Guys, that conversation, we've talked about it for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Dating all the way back to, I think, after the Vanderbilt game. And I thought that throughout that game and then leading up into the Texas A&M game, I thought we should have had conversations about maybe it's time for Michael Van Buren to take some snaps under center. And then I also said, I think leading up to the Texas A&M drive or I think either that or the South Carolina drive, I'm on record as saying, give Michael Van Buren a drive in an SEC game and see what you do. And this week, we had an interview on Wednesday or Thursday when we talked with Blake Ruffino of AYS Sports. We said that you had to make changes. If you cannot get off to a good start offensively, there would be a scenario where I thought you were going to have to make changes. And you did it today, like I expected you to. For the most part, I thought Van Buren did fine. But again, this is still a new quarterback with a bad offensive system. You just fired your offensive coordinator a couple weeks ago and your head coach. So what does that say about where you're at right now? It's not looking good from your own standpoint. 843-350-2534, 843-350-2534 is the number that you guys need to call if you want to get involved in the show and if you want to come talk some ball for a little bit. But we will be on for another couple of minutes before we get on out of here with this instant reaction. Look, I thought for the most part, Alabama did what they needed to do. They did. In the red zone, LSU shot themselves in the foot. They had opportunities to score more. First drive of the game, your defense gets you a big turnover on downs, and you drive right down the field. You get inside the red zone. You're getting big plays. And once again, you shoot yourself in the foot, and Damian Ramos misses a field goal. That's a backbreaker, guys. That's what's going to kill drives. Your defense forces a fumble, or your defense forces a punt after the initial play to Jeremy Bernard is caught with Harold Perkins getting beaten coverage. And then Bauer Sharp fumbles the football. Guys, I'm going to be real with you. I love Bauer. I know Bauer. Bauer went to Southeastern for a couple years. I got the pleasure to meet Bauer. He's not an SEC tight end. And once again, I love Bauer to death. I think he's an awesome dude, and I love getting to talk with him. Guys, he's not an SEC tight end, and I don't think he will be. He's not going to translate to the NFL. But that would lead to a field goal. LSU comes back and gets their own field goal. Bama goes down the field in 7 plays and gets a touchdown. Because LSU can't get off the field. They have bad penalties. Killed momentum, man. 3 and out. You have a missed field goal. They score before the half. In 3 plays, by the way. Lonnie Brooks in back-to-back plays. Then you get it to Ryan Williams. They come out, they get a field goal, and by the way, they were in the red zone as well. So they have to settle for 6. They fumble the football, you can only get 3 out of it. So, once again, I'm going to say this for the rest of the night. LSU shot themselves in the foot when it mattered most. Oh, man. That's a frustrating way to lose the football game. So, it's a very that was a very unorganized game from all aspects of the game. It really, really was. And that was a game, in my opinion, that rattled me. Or not really rattled, but it was just aggravating to watch. And it was aggravating to see what you had throughout that football game and what LSU did really to shoot themselves in the foot and blow opportunities in the red zone. Alabama created big plays, and LSU just wasn't able to stop them. If there is one thing that I've seen from Blake Baker that they have struggled with over time and over the course of the season, over the course of really his tenure as a defensive coordinator, it's giving up these big chunk plays that lead to points. They have a bend but don't break attitude, but they give up some big chunk plays later on in the game that comes back to bite them. And when you have an offense like what LSU has right now that is almost back in the Les Miles Stone Age, who has no answer at quarterback, who continues to struggle in that area of the field, trying to move the football down the field. This creates problems, and that's what's going to create more problems down the stretch for you because of these little things that you have not been able to accomplish, such as finding your guy and finding your rhythm offensively. You got to clean house offensively. You've got to find a new guy. You got to find a head coach that is going to be an offensive guru. So, like I mentioned and like we've said in the offseason, we talked with Blake and I said, hey, man, maybe you should throw the bag at Lane Kiffin in the offseason. We'll see what happens with Eli Drinkwitz now. They're out of playoff contention. Now, because of that, I think people are going to look more his way and say, hey, man, why don't you come be our next head coach? Now, we really got an opportunity to do if we have you. I'm telling you, I'm not even lying to you. Like, there is a very likely chance that these conversations about Eli Drinkwitz, these other programs around the SEC could very well be real. Whether it be Arkansas, whether it be LSU, whoever it is, whether it be Auburn. Eli Drinkwitz was with Gus Malzahn and with Brian Harsin, both of which were at Auburn for the longest time, and was with Arkansas State. Eli Drinkwitz is a former Auburn quality control coach. He could take the Arkansas job. He's from Arkansas, went to school at Arkansas Tech, started his coaching career at Arkansas. Anything can happen with Eli Drinkwitz. Do I think he will, though? No. And he's been able to recruit at a high level. He's been able to hit the portal at high levels. I think Missouri ends up with another 8-4 season this year. I think they'll miss out on a 10-win season again, but that's okay. You end up 9-4, and you're a very hot name around college football. I think you could definitely put them in a position where Missouri should be treated as a hotbed for other teams to come in and pick apart their coaching staff as their new head coach. Eli Drinkwitz is going to be the hot name going into this offseason. He very likely could do so. But, man, that's going to wrap it up for us here on our instant reaction. Alabama with a sloppy victory out in Tuscaloosa. They beat the LSU Tigers 20-9. We'll have full coverage of all that went down around the SEC tomorrow for our Sunday recap. We're getting you prepped for the second full week of November. Get you ready for next week's slate of games. Got a lot. November, like we've mentioned, is playoff separation week. So it's going to be fun. This is where you're starting to see the SEC race start to heat up. We got a full sled of games next week, highlighted by number 11 Texas going to Georgia, and then Oklahoma going to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Really excited for those games. We got a lot to preview and a lot to break down. Getting ready for what should be a fun Week 12 in the SEC. 2 more weeks in the SEC season, and we are excited for it as we always are. Thank you guys again for watching us tonight. We will see you guys tomorrow for our SEC Sunday recap. We'll see you. We'll get you previewed up for Week 12. Y'all have a great rest of the week. We'll see you tomorrow.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click Join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.